So hello and welcome back to TNTV with myself, Tony V, and the amazing leopard-clad with a fish necklace, incredible Nikki V.
Yes, hello there and welcome back. And of course these weekly videos are for you if you're in a relationship, and it's wherever it is basically. Either you're just finding that you're just not getting on that well, or actually you're right the other end where you know one of you is going, I've had enough of this. These weekly videos are to give you some distinctions and some tools and some skills that is going to take you from however deeply disconnected you are to wherever you want to be, and that you're going to get you talking and communicating and connected.
Yeah, so today I thought we'd cover a subject which is very dear to our hearts, because we came into the awareness of this all way back at the beginning of the early bit of this century. I mean, that makes you sound old, doesn't it? You know? In
Yes.
the early 2000s we became aware of this, and we are completely also aware that most people will have no knowledge of this. So as always in intimate relationships, it's lack of education that causes most people to have a challenge, and that's what we see ourselves as, and why we're known as the relationship couple is we're all about relationship education, and even more relationship education. So, what is this secret thing about? Well, it's something that, you know, I certainly do talks about for hours and hours, and we've only got a few minutes here, and that's something called multidimensionality, which is a very big word which I always have trouble spelling, but basically it means that as human beings there's different sort of layers to us. And what I think is really important for the purpose of this small education is to just think of ourselves as having two layers. Our first layer is our logical self. So this logic, for example, is where things like equality were born, or feminism was born. Now, we're not making that wrong, because we just have to go look at a level that is all okay. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just at a certain level. Now, when you add in a sub-level to that, that's when it all starts to not make as much sense.
Yeah, and because and this thing, this tool that we're talking about, I mean, we basically use it every day, because what happens is you get some sort of, you know, something happen in your life. It doesn't have to be a disconnection with your partner, it just be something happening in your life, and you recognize that when you think of it at this level, when you think of it at this logical level, you kind of get yourself into a worse state in a way, because you're trying to look for a practical, logical solution, when in actual fact it's what's going on underneath at this other level that's really so important. And that's what we want to really hone in on today, because we see, don't we, so many couples, and we use it just for a quick example so you get what we really mean here, is that it's like when couples get together, and because it's practical financially, they move into her house, and maybe she's got more savings than he has, and she's got a job and everything, or maybe they have a baby and then it's more sensible for him to stay at home with the baby and her stay at work. All those sorts of things, as Tony said, are just examples of us making decisions up here that we think are going to work in our relationships. And what we've seen over these years, and for ourselves, is that it's only when we really understand what's going on at the other level that we can really find the solution. So whatever's going on in your relationship right now that's made you listen to this video today, know that it's something going on at this level that you really need to be aware of. And that's why this is why this is so important for us to share with you today.
So when Nikki's talking about this level, what she's talking about is what goes on in our sort of like our chemistry and our hormonal level. Now, this is a part of us, and it's why we use the word multidimensionality, is this is a part of us that is actually alive and living, and it lives symbiotically with our logic. So at this level we've got logic, at this level we've got our chemistry. Now, what most people are doing is they're deleting or not aware of or conscious of their chemistry. They're only conscious of their logic. So as Nikki's saying, what they tend to do is try and solve everything from this level. But look, it's completely entwined and interconnected with this level. So trying to solve it from this level without even being aware of this level, you're onto a loser before you even start. And to be honest, this probably has caused the world, well, in fact, it definitely has caused the world to be in the position it is today. Because it doesn't matter if you're in, you know, London or any other city in the UK, or you're in the heart of Damascus right now, where there's a war going on. It's just exacerbated there. Because look at it, you know, the news people are all talking at a logical level, but at a chemical level, everything is a complete mess. And that's true even when you think it's like calm. Because what actually is happening is that your chemistry, your hormonal and chemistry set, as I often call it, it's like we're an alchemist. We can make millions of different chemical concoctions inside our body, and they drive our emotionality. They drive our responses to things. So what happens when you get like in a disconnection, if you try and solve it at a logical level, what happens is your chemicals raise to the surface, and that what seemingly comes out of your mouth is logical is actually emotional driven. And that emotionality looks completely different to the person receiving that than the logical bit on its own.
I know, you've just taught me something as well, because when I think about it, when we try and solve things at a practical level, we actually get quite frustrated, don't we? Because we're trying to solve it at a practical level and it won't work, especially in intimate relationships. It makes sense, doesn't it? Not, you know, something practical solution is never gonna, well, what do we always say when we write to people? We say, they go, but I love this person. We go, what you've described above in your here's how it's going wrong has got nothing to do with love. So we're trying to solve a love problem practically is only going to create for us, this is what I just learned, it's going to create for us the frustration and the I don't know-inness that's going to create this chemical hormonal reaction, which means that when we then behave, things are not good. In fact, it's worse, isn't it? And one of the things that Tony was also telling me this morning, I've been really educated this morning, is that actually we often behave differently. Now, it doesn't matter actually whether you're a man or a woman, you will behave differently. You're either, when you've got this chemical hormone going on, you will either use your fight, and that can often be, especially with women, a bit more, it's like a lot of stuff comes out of here, or you use your flight, which again is more common with men, where they literally just move away from the woman. So of course, why it makes such great sense to me now, thank you, is that it's just our chemicals just reacting, and they react in the way, and that's what we know, is it's either fight or flight. And of course, neither fight or flight, if you think about it, even logically, is ever going to work in a space that we're trying to have a loving connection in.
Indeed, indeed. So the trick here for you to have a better connected long-term relationship is to know that your chemicals are your chemicals, their chemicals are their chemicals. Now, that what most people think is that these people set off your chemicals, but they're your chemicals. They can't set them off. It feels like that. You know, they do something that you don't like, you then get the chemical reaction and then come out with, you know, whatever is your so-called logical response. But most people are just thinking logically, they're not realising that they are in control of their chemicals. So most people are unaware that it's chemistry driven. So here's the trick. The trick is, firstly, to be responsible, I guess, for your chemicals. In other words, this other person didn't come and inject you with, you know, the chemical concoction you've got. You somehow created it. Now, the good news is if you created it, then you can uncreate it, or you can learn to control it. And many people say to us, so how come you've got such a great relationship? And my number one answer would be, is because we've got pretty good at doing this. Now, pretty good means we don't do it all the time. Trust me, I still get got, I still go to blame Nikki and she does the same back to me. But what we've got good at is doing that for about 10 seconds, maybe 15, maybe 30 at the absolute most, before we start going, it's all about my chemistry. I created that. I'm the only one that can change that. They can't change that. They can only change theirs. So learning more about your chemistry and how to change it is one of the most fantastic educational things you can do if you want to have a great, loving, long-term, intimate relationship.
That's so lovely. And I just wanted to say, here's the great thing as well. You can't unknow this. your brain's going, what? What did she just say? You can't unknow it. So now that you know it, so I'll just give you an example. When Tony and I were a little bit disconnected, right, I went into the kitchen and I tried really hard to stay cross with you. I tried really hard. So I thought, no, I'm not going to let him get away with it this time. I'm going to stay cross. But of course, a little voice just kept going, yeah, but you did it. You did it. You created that. It was your chemicals. And of course, I'm trying to tell this voice to be quiet, but actually, I couldn't.
Yeah.
So of course, then I got, like, look, why would I want to hold that in my body? I mean, we do a lot of work with, all sorts of different people, and I just was working with someone last week who's pregnant. And she still has a little bit of anger going on in her relationship with her new husband, and and she's pregnant. It's all a lovely time, but of course there's still patterns of behaviour going on. And I just said to her, is that really the chemicals you want to have in your body when you're making a baby? She went, of course not. But how do I stop? Well, that's why I'm really believing that today we've given you the antidote. We haven't just said, here's how it goes wrong.
Yes.
We've said, here's what you need to do. And what we would love is if you let us know, use it. Absolutely use it. And let us know how you get on. And if you need any help with that, let us know and we're here to help you.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually given them the antidote yet.
Oh.
We've
Oh,
only
it
told them
sounded
about
like
it. Oh, no. So for the first step, as Nikki and I'm always drumming this into her, is that awareness is the first step. Yeah. So the solution could look like.
Oh yes, I get what you mean now.
Just becoming aware.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yes.
it's really the first step. There is a second step
Yes.
where you can learn to do what Nikki did in the kitchen, I did in the bathroom, and then very quickly we're all having a hug and it's all great again. So the second step is a sort of a little known thing.
Yes.
But the way to turn your chemicals back to normal again is really to start saying different things to yourself, which is what you heard Nikki doing. And the other thing is to breathe like mad.
Yes.
It's deliberate, what we call conscious breathing.
Yes.
And if you breathe into your heart area a few times and then just exhale all the rubbish again, it's like immediately takes away all the negative chemicals, cortisol and adrenaline are your key fight and flight chemicals. They all dissipate very quickly, and then your logic suddenly acts differently and you get a different result. Now, we did learn this from a company which has gone, their business has gone exponentially through the roof, and rightly so, where they help many people in primarily the Western world solve their what you might call simply stress issues, which are really what we would call somebody whose chemicals are fired off and they've got cortisol and adrenaline in them. And the company's name is HeartMath. So that's heart and math. Math as in American, they say it slightly different. So if you're American, that sounds easy. If you're British, they go, why you call it math? We call it maths.
Where's the S?
Yeah. Anyway, it's called HeartMath, the company. I'll probably put a link somewhere below this. If you're watching it on YouTube, I'll put a link to their site. If you're watching it on the website, I'll probably put something somewhere anyway. But just look them up, heartmath.com. And you'll find that they've got a gadget, which I love, which we use a lot in our work, to demonstrate what you can do to change the chemistry. So there's loads of education there. HeartMath, they taught us this in 2003 or 4, whatever it was, 10 years ago. And we've never looked back, so it's a great gadget. And we don't do tips, but it's tip of the week. Get yourself onto HeartMath.
Definitely. And you're right. It is like that. What do I actually do? Because when I was thinking it's all about being aware of it, actually, sometimes that other voice is so strong that you can't hear that little voice. And that actually what you need is you need to take those breaths. You need to have the way of getting your chemicals into a different state so that actually what you know now is a reality for you. And then when you get together, when you move back towards each other, you may actually have an even more connection than you've had for a long, long, long time. And we really wish that for you.
Indeed. So that's it from this week's TNTV. It's all about awareness of your own chemicals. It's about taking some breaths and checking out HeartMath if you want to learn more about it. So from me, Tony V, and the amazing Nikki V, we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.